What's happening, homie? Today we're at the Littleton Twilight Criterium in the men's 1-2-3 field. This was my first time racing here and it was a blast. Let's go ahead and jump into some of the footage and analysis for the race. We've jumped ahead to just after the first corner and I'm already at 900 watts. My clip-in wasn't great and I need to, reconnect with the pack. Really got to work on my clip-in skills. And we're just going to take a lap here to kind of get a feel for the course and see how it's racing. This backstretch here was almost always very fast during the race. Even at the start here, you see we're already going 30 miles an hour, and it leads into this left-hander, which leads into another left-hander, like almost right after it. And it actually goes from very wide, and you'll see here, we turn left into a one-lane road with that curb kind of coming in which most people, you don't really have to put on a lot of power here because most people are braking through this corner. It's a little off camber, and there's kind of a divot at the end. And then this is kind of the section where it's hard to move up but easy to get past. That makes no sense, I know, but that's just kind of how I found this section. Was definitely the most difficult to keep position, and it took me a while to learn this corner. And then you have the smoothest road. The whole course is beautiful pavement, so it's really a great course, minus these like rain divots or ditches, effectively where the rain can flow out of the road. Another quick left-hander, and this is going to be the final straight before the last corner. The last corner is actually my favorite corner. It's super sick. You can dive the inside. I'll show some highlights of that. Not really diving, but just you can make up positions by taking it tighter because effectively the corner goes up onto the sidewalk a little bit, but you don't really lose grip or anything. Here I'm losing the wheel for no reason, having to pump it up to 700 watts. As we come through the start-finish banner, we're going to take that final left-hander, the first corner of the race, which a lot of guys were braking, but you kind of swoop out wide right and you can dive it really hard. You can really push this corner, and I really think that if you're in the front, you do have a major advantage there. And we're coming back down this straight. We'll jump ahead a little bit and right into a crash. I knew this was going to happen. This corner, it just kind of narrowed and there was hay bales everywhere. Like, it was very clear that the promoters knew a crash could happen here, and it felt that it was going to happen early, and it did, one lap in, which was unfortunate, but, just go take your free lap, right? As I mosey on over to the pit, one thing I would like to point out is, don't rush. You don't have to rush. I see way too many people after crashes, sprinting to get to the pit, and it's yeah, don't sit on course, and, don't, get in the way of the race, and as long as you're not hurt, just get off the course and get to the pit as quickly as you can, but, there's no need to race to the pit. They're going to put you in where they put you in. And if you show up one lap later than half of the other people, you're going to be fine. They're going to let you back in the race. Now, if you show up 4 or 5 laps later, obviously they're not going to let you in. But yeah, just if you've never raced a crit before, there's no need to sprint to the pit. They're going to put you in where they put you in. And that's where we're going to jump right back in. And we're getting put back into the race. You can see the lead riders come by. And the official was very clear in that, do not be at the front next lap. I will just DQ you, which is entirely fair. Some of the guys were yelling, hey, not at the front, not at the front, not at the front. It's I know, but we still got to take this corner, and taking the very, very inside slowly is more dangerous than having them take a slightly more wide line. The corner was more than wide enough. Get put back in, and we're going to go ahead and jump ahead to my favorite corner, which is the absolute last one. It is so smooth, and you can take it so fast. And, if I come back and do this race again, I think you can take it even faster, and you can kind of find even more spots to move up here. I'm going to do a bad job of it, but you'll see the guy on the inside, and he goes over the curb, right? He went out of frame for a second, and he'll come back into frame. Actually, I end up passing him, but I saw that, and I was like, that's really smart. But we'll have to come back to that, because this race got so strung out so fast. We are only 17 minutes into the race, and we are moving, going 32, 33, and I was like, oh, I don't really know where I am, and then I look up the field, and they're about to take that next corner. I'm literally 200 meters back, and I was like, alarm bells, ring, 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 ring. I have to move up. If I don't, this is the end of my race, and this was quite a long drive, 8 hours, 9 hours, really. I could not, I was like, I will not get dropped from this race. And I was like, oh no, man, the gap's huge. And I was like, okay, I'll do it myself. I yell inside, inside, inside. And I'm like, I have to get to this. This is my only chance. We're going 32, and I'm just pumping up the power to make sure we get reconnected. Because if we don't, I'm going to be pissed. Because one, it's mostly my fault. And so I was like, I will drag these guys back. I do not care. And luckily, the field slows down. I had a little bit more in the tank. I don't think altitude doesn't hurt me that much. I can still, hang with them, but it was just a matter of get back on the wheel now, otherwise you're dropped, and I did, which was something that I think I reacted quick enough to, and something I've gotten better at over time is if I'm going to tail gun or if I'm going to be at the back, you have to be able to react to those moves very quickly. I saw it, and within one lap I corrected, which is something I'm actually fairly proud of here at this race. Now back to my favorite corner, shout out to my favorite corner. Like, this line is so much faster. Now, I didn't do a great job there, but I end up making up like 3-4 spots, and I do it again, and you can make up just a little bit of ground, and you don't have to put up as much power. Now, I'm still doing 700, 800 watts, but I'm not nuking it, right? And that's what I loved about that corner, and it's something that I'd really like to work on, especially if I'm going to come back, is finding lines like that where, for no effort, you take a shorter line, and you can get right back in the draft. I move up a couple spots here, and I do the exact same thing. It's like, okay, where else is there to go? Nowhere? Okay, then I'll just take that corner. And there's no punishment, or at least it felt like there was no punishment. I mean a little win because I'm trying to move up here, but that's kind of the gist of the racing that I'm trying to find in Cat 2 as I recently moved up, is that you have to find spots where you are comfortable, more comfortable than the pack it seems, and find some spots to move up. We're going to jump ahead here to where I find a spot to move up, and there's not much time left in the race. There's about 15 minutes left, and unfortunately there's a break of 5 up the road. Their teammates have been blocking, and I was like, okay, I have to get up there. That's my race. 6th isn't worth anything. Obviously it's worth like USAC points, and some races you can make some money sprinting for 6th, but it's like I don't care. I don't care about getting 6th. I want to be in that top 5 group. I want to do my best to win. And this was one of the first times I think in a Cat 2 race where I've actually done that. Like, I gave myself a chance. Now I make some mistakes, and here's where I make the mistake. Pack goes left. I should have just shot, right? I was like, waiting a little bit, kind of looking around, that's like 5 seconds too long before I spike it up to 900. He's already going, right? But I do get a little bit of a gap. I look back and I have about, I'd say 3, 4, 5 bike lengths. Come into this corner and I just cook it for one whole lap. I put my head down and I pedal, man. I do some decent power. And this is where I make my second mistake. I keep it around 400 watts, and then I don't put as much power through these corners, and I put more power on. I needed to keep a much smoother and a much harder effort. 300 watts isn't going to get me away from this pack, especially when there's people chasing. I am making up some ground on the chase group. I can barely see them in the distance, but it's not enough. I really should have done a hard attack like I did 5 seconds sooner, and then held 500 watts for a lap. And then once that was done, settle into the 350. Unfortunately, I'm caught, but with 2 laps to go, I've sat in for about 4 or 5 laps, kind of just trying to get my energy back, trying to focus, trying to, recover from that effort. It wasn't super hard, but just enough to take a little bit out of you. And, we're just going to let these last two laps fly here. It picks up really, really fast. We end up making up a ton of ground on the pack. They only beat us by about 12 seconds. And I think at this point, before these last 2 laps, they had 25 seconds on us. So the pack made up a ton of ground, but I think the teammates knew that they were gone and that we could kind of go for it. Unfortunately, they let another guy go. Another guy bridged right after I attacked, so 6 was also locked up. They were up the road as well. Kind of annoying, but sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't, right? Nevertheless, it's a little fast, but I feel pretty decent. Not great, but decent. And I need to move up now. And this is where I make like the final mistake of the race, right? Is we have a lap and a half to go. We're coming into this corner. It's going to slow down. It always slows down through here. That's something I noticed, except it doesn't this time. So my plan of waiting for this corner to kind of launch just dies, right? And now I'm kind of panicking. Not really panicking. I'm like, I just need to move up. It slowed down a little, but not nearly as much as it had been, which was just a mistake on my part. I really got to get used to that. 1-2 field does not slow down with 2 laps to go, with 3 laps to go. Whereas like in the 3s, like I could almost bank on it slowing down with 2 to go. Like it was almost a guarantee. Kind of float into this wheel here pretty decently. I see them start to wind it up, so I'm like, okay, you got to get in that draft. There's 1,000 watts, and I lose it. I needed to be a little bit more aggressive there and take that wheel of the guy on the yellow bike. We got 1 lap to go. They're ringing the bells. Everyone's getting excited. Everyone's getting a little bit antsy. And you can see the leaders are about 40 meters ahead of me. I'm about 25th right now. It's just too far back. Some guys are starting to drop, and I have to go eat a ton of wind to come around this guy because he's going to stop pedaling here in a second. And I just knew that if I stayed on his wheel, there was no chance. My chances are already slim to win or to do well here, but they're sort of existent. I make up some space. I take the inside line here. I end up having to brake, which is not ideal, but I'm still staying around 25. It's just I took that line poorly, and that was kind of the final nail in the coffin, but you never give up. I stick on this guy in the blue kit with the white bike. he's been pretty like in the pack and a decent rider all day that I've noticed. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'm too far back, but I'm still going to try to sit on someone's wheel and go for the sprint. I float back a little bit here, take the inside line, and this is where I just should have sent it. 700 watts is not enough. I should have been doing 1100 to get past maybe 5 of these guys and to hit that corner with the main lead out train. I don't. I'm in the wind. I take that corner terribly. Like, I just really blow it in the last 2 laps. But it's okay. I mean, I kind of went for the win, or I went to make a move. It didn't pan out. I'm still going to sprint. I don't have a ton left. But there's also, like, I can never dig as deep, right, when it's just me versus, like, guys for 20th. I end up passing maybe 3 guys, 4 guys. The wheel I was on was good. He seemed to have a pretty decent sprint. I end up taking 21st overall. Not great, but at a 50 and kind of my first 1-2-3 race where I'm actually, like, I actually did something. And, like, that's new for me, actually doing something. So, yeah, that's the race. Thanks for watching. If you liked, subscribe, like, and I'll see you guys next time. Deuces.